Hi, my name's Matt and thank you very much for purchasing the Dynamic Galleries widget. If you've not actually purchased this yet, then this video will just show you how configurable the standalone version is, and if you have purchased it, then I'll take you through step by step on how to install and how to configure your Dynamic Gallery widget. But before we dive in, how does the standalone version differ from the free version? First of all, it's more control. You've got a whole wealth of configurable options which you can change the way that the galleries work, look and feel, and ultimately you have ultimate control over the style sheets which are loaded and how the gallery appears to your customers. Oh, and of course you host, so it's only serving your account, not hundreds of accounts at the same time. So let's dive in, and after purchasing the gallery widget, you'll receive a zip file called gallery.sa, and I've just opened that up and we can see that there's several files in there. Now I've been and unzipped that and I've got these files here, and we need to transfer them to our web host. Now I'm not going to cover FTP. There are a collection of different programs which you can use to transfer files from your desktop to your web hosting account. They all use a program called a system called FTP, and in this case I'm using a program called WinSCP. You could be using any of the free options like Smart FTP or FileZilla and so on and so forth. So what I've been and done is grab those files and transferred them to the FTP account. Okay, now once we've been and uploaded them, there is one important note, and that's the cache folder here needs to be set to either 755, 775 or 777, so that we're able to write our cache files locally into that folder. If we don't do that, then we won't be able to create our cache files, and we won't be able to show our items in our listings. Okay, now a quick rundown of the files, so I'm going to work this from top to bottom. Is first of all we've got the CSS folder, okay, and in there we can see that there's a special CSS file for Internet Explorer, then there's the generic CSS for the main styling. Then in the images folder we've got the Ajax loader, so while the gallery's loading, again if you choose to show this, I hasten to add, that's the loader image. We've got the previous and next icons and also the slider button image too. We've also got JavaScript to load up the gallery once it's in there, again assuming that you want the gallery to scroll. There are cases where you may want the gallery to be fixed, say if you're replicating what you've got on Amazon for example. And also there's the file here if you want to self-host the Jquery file yourself and not use the public CDN. Okay, now there's a folder called scope bin, and that's where an additional file is stored, which is that goes in hand with the gallery.sa file. Now I've also included a readme file, and this includes step-by-step instructions on how to install and configure this script, or to get you up and running with the script, should I say. We've got the configuration file and we've got the example file, and it's the configuration and the example file which we'll be focused on now for the rest of this video. So let's jump in and open up the configuration file. Okay, and I'm just waiting for that to load, and I'll pop that over there. There we go. And what you'll see is that each section has got some comments in here, and my text editor is showing these in green. I'm using the editor called Notepad++, and that's a free editor. It's one of my personal favorites, and it helps me color code PHP pages. So back onto the topic, you can see that there's the bits between the comments is shown as green, and it tells you what's following here. So we've got eBay ID and store name. Now, just to make a quick point, I've grabbed two examples, and I'll grab the easy one first. So at the top of this page, we'll see that this eBay shop is called jewelry and gifts etc. So if this was your eBay shop, you would copy this and you'd put that in as your shop name. And that's really important because their eBay ID is Wendy12550. Okay, these are quite different, okay? Whereas this one's not that apparent, so you can see the hyphen supermarket, and then you've got the underscore supermarket for their eBay ID. Okay, so in this example, I'm actually going to grab Wendy's for this live example, and again, I've just grabbed them. It's the first account which I came across on eBay, so that's the one I'm going to be using for this. And I'm going to grab her eBay store name and make sure I'm pasting it between the quotes, and then I'm going to grab her eBay ID. I'm presuming it's a her, by the way, for it, so I'm going to paste that in there so we can see we've got the eBay ID, and that's where you put your eBay ID, and that's where you would put your store name. Okay. Now the next stage is that this app requires an eBay token, and this means that I don't ever need to see your eBay password, and this is part of the eBay's developers program. Now we need to go to that URL which I've got there. So I've come to the token request form. I've already pre-filled my eBay ID, and you would put your eBay ID in here. Click on create token and you'll be asked to sign into eBay, and you'll notice that it's https signin.ebay.co.uk. Click on sign in, read through the information on the next page, and then once you're happy, click I agree. Okay, and then we'll be told that it's been successfully completed. If you close that tab and then click to verify token, you'll be then given your token, and you can see this big, very long string of text, and that is our token. Okay, so if you click in this box and then if you press Ctrl A on your keyboard, you can copy that, and you'll highlight that, and then if you press Ctrl C, you'll copy it. Okay, or alternatively, you can left click, highlight everything, and right click and choose copy. Okay, so if we now go back to the config file and being very careful to click between the two hyphens, we can now paste. I'm pressing Ctrl V on my keyboard, or we could have chosen right click and then choose paste to paste our token in there. Okay, the next setting is our base URL. Now what I have done for this example is set up a test URL, which is testing.lastdropofink.co.uk/gallery, and again that would be the web address of where you've uploaded your file to and your files to. Okay, now the next setting is for the eBay site TLD, so if you're only ever selling on eBay UK, then you'd put .co.uk. If you're US, then you put .com. If you're Australia, you put .com.au. If you're Germany, .de, and so on and so forth. Okay, now a quick note, you don't need to change any of these settings from here onwards. They'll just work from out of the box. So if you've been and purchased this and want to go with it straight away, you can now move this video on to the next stage, where I'll put a little message at the bottom, and you can jump the rest of these settings, so you can go and play with your gallery straight away. But for now, I'm going to carry on and go through these settings. Now the next setting is a title limit. Now eBay has got a maximum of 80 characters in the title, and by default in the free version is that I limit that to 35. In this standalone version, I allow you to change the title, or give you the option to change the title. So if you want the entire title, so 80 characters, you can have that. Maybe you find that 55 suits you really well. You can do, and you can change this as a setting in here. Okay, the next setting came from one of the early beta testers of this script, is that they actually sell whole price items, so they only ever sell it, say, £375 or £299, and they don't put any pence symbols on there. Now if that is the case, what they asked me to do was put a little setting in there so that they could set that to 0, so the whole number would come out and not 375.00. Okay, if you do use .99 or .95, you would want to set that to 2. Okay, the next setting is to change the sorting of the way that of the items which are returned. So the default here is number 12, and that is best match. Okay, so if we were searching for say rings or shoes, then the items which are returned will be the items which would naturally be returned by best match. However, you can change this number to maybe change it to the price, so you can have your lowest first, or maybe your highest first, or you could have the ending soonest first by setting it to number 1. Okay, and again, this is a configuration option which is not in the free version. Okay, the next setting is that if you want to set a default eBay store category, so that if you in the loader, which we'll come to in a couple of moments, which is the loader which goes inside the actual eBay listing itself, is that if you want a default eBay category, you can set this here, but it will be overwritten by the loader if you want it to be done, if you want to add it here. The next is the CSS directory, which is that if I quickly just jump back, is CSS again. If you want to change these settings, you can do. So that's for the CSS. The cache directory. Okay, the next one is really important, and that's called the cache time. Now, 86400 is an entire day. So the cache, what will happen is that this script will go off and grab the items which match the search criteria which you specified in your listing, and then it will store them for a day if we leave it at that number. If we put 43200, it will store it for half a day. While we're testing, okay, we can set that to a much lower number, say 5 for example, so it will grab the latest every single time, and then if we're changing our CSS for example, it will show the latest updates. But once you've finished changing and configuring, styling your related gallery, then come back here, and it's really important that you change that number, and I strongly suggest a day, which is 86400, because it will make the load time of your related items so much quicker. It will be the difference between it pausing for a couple of seconds and it being like in a heartbeat. It will be there. Okay, now if you did want to change the name of your style sheet, you can do, and again there's another configuration option there, and the same goes for the IE fix as well. Internet Explorer tends to require some bespoke CSS, and we can load this in a separate file here again just to organize it a little bit better. Now, I did mention about the Jquery tool script. Again, I would personally suggest you use their CDN version. However, if you're solely selling to the UK and you have really good UK hosting, then you can self-host this on your own URL, and this setting allows you to do it. The next setting is for referral tracking. Okay, really top tip here is that you remember to include the question mark there. If you don't include the question mark there, every time someone clicks on one of your links, then they'll go not to the item. It'll probably come up as a failed page. Okay, but you can also add a referral name or tag to every time they click on there for external or internal tracking purposes. The next one, which was kind of an obvious setting, and it was suggested that I should add this, and this is the title text which comes out on the top of the gallery. Okay, if you leave it blank, then it doesn't come out at all, or if you put just related items with H2 tags, they'll come out too. The next setting is for view item, and that's the view item tag which comes below each one of the items in the gallery. Now, if you don't want to show that section, what I'd suggest you do is leave this setting alone, and then using CSS, just hide or display none for the class goal button. Okay, the next setting, okay, is to use the Ajax gallery loader image, so that when the customer's viewing the page and the gallery is loading, you can have a little spinny circle going round in there. And again, by default this is turned on, so that's true, and if you'd like to turn that off, just type in false in there, so all lowercase false or all lowercase true. Okay, now the next setting is for the currency symbol, and I've included the 3 common ones in here, which are the pound symbols, so you'd put ampersand hash 163 colon in there, and then the dollar symbol and the euro symbol. And if your currency symbol is not included in here, then there is a link there which will give you all the different options for the currency symbols. Okay, now the next one is that in the free version, then I was appending the gallery widget with some extra text, and again I've given you the example here. Now you could put some, if you wanted to, you could put some additional text at the bottom of the gallery, and that setting allows you to do it. Just go really careful not to use one of the little apostrophes like here, because it will break the variable so that to only use quotes if you have to. Okay, the next setting allows you to change the Jquery loader, and this also goes hand in hand with the JavaScript file in the JS folder. Okay, there's a little note here about this. Okay, now I'm not going to go and cover the different options in here. It's fully documented at that URL, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press save, and I'm going to get to that live example so we can see what it looks like for real. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to our web hosting in our example file, so it's just a HTML file. Okay, you'll see that number one thing you'll categorically need to do is change your URL here. Okay, so make sure this points to the path of the gallery SA file in your own web hosting. Okay, now what I would suggest you just leave these to default just to prove that it works for the time being. Now I've been and grabbed a browser, and you can see that I tried this before I'd set it up. Now if I go and hit refresh, okay, again that took a couple of moments to load, maybe 2.5, maybe 3 seconds for it to load. Okay, now the reason why it took so long is, remember that cache setting back in our configuration file. So if I run back up here, our cache time is set really low, so it's going off, grabbing the latest items and then processing them. Now if I was to change this back to this number here, like so, and press save, can you see how quick that these are loading up? So I just hit refresh, and it's just taken less than a second for them to load through. So going back to our HTML file, is that we've got our gallery URL. Now this is where you can add keywords. So what I'm going to do is jump back to this one. So I'm going to search for pack. Okay, so let me grab this file, and again this is the text. So this whole chunk of text here is what you would copy and paste into your eBay listing. Okay, so that for each individual eBay listing, for this example, maybe we only wanted to show packs of products, we could put that in there. Okay, so what I'll now do is go back, and I'm going to change that config setting back to the cache time back to 5. Again, we're testing here. Come back and view the live preview, hit refresh, and the items which we come back will only have packs in them. Okay, now the keywords will take advanced search terms, and I've included that in that readme file, and it will take you to a page on eBay, and it will show you how you can do compounded searches, so you can search for this or this or and this or not this, and so on and so forth, by using default eBay search operands. Okay, now coming back to the example file, we could specify a specific eBay shop category. Okay, now this isn't a shop category by name, it's a shop category by ID, and again in the readme file there's a link included in there, and it will take you to the page where you can find those out. Okay, now in the standard free version you can have a maximum of 8 related products. In this version you can specify however many you want. However, I would suggest 12, mainly just for speed. Okay. Now I've also in the standalone version is offered you the option here is that there's a no gallery option, so that no CSS version. So if you if you put N in there, it will stop the style sheets from being loaded. Now that would be very useful for you if you were including the CSS inside your eBay listing template. Okay, and again remember I mentioned there's a default option for the sorting of the items which are being returned. The default is 12, but if we wanted it, for example, so let's scroll back up, if we wanted it for ending soonest, that we could override this in our eBay listing by specifying number 1 in there. So this loader script allows you to change work off the defaults what we've got in the configuration file, but we can override the important factors in each individual listing. So one listing may have one set of attributes and another listing may have another set of attributes, and again this gives you the power to do that. Okay, now if you have any questions or suggestions, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me at lastdropofink.co.uk, and I have a forum dedicated just to support to this product, which is lastdropofink.co.uk /forum. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I'll speak to you soon. Cheerio. Bye.